Hi, sir. Sir. Our next panelist is the head of the section of addiction psychiatry in the the medical city, Dr. Maria Monica Cardinez-Tan. Dr. Please sa stage. Then our third panelist is the president of the Project Red Ribbon, Mr. Ramon Rodulfo Johnson. Our fourth panelist is the program manager of Love Yourself, Mr. Danvic Rosadin. So our fifth panelist is the clinic manager of Sustained Health Initiatives of the Philippines, or SHIP, Mr. Edel Simpauco. So this will be chaired by Dr. Annalisa Ong-Lim.
So, pasapasahan na lang daw tayo ng mic kasi medyo yung isa hawak ni Gelza para sa audience naman. Ano? So, I know we have a mix of resource speakers in front of us. And the objective really of the session was to get different perspectives about behavior and values in the context of HIV. I think we already had a lot of inputs from the previous speakers, well, not necessarily specifically on the topic, but touching on this particular aspect. Kasi, I guess one of the main drivers really is how people behave that makes them puts them at risk for HIV. And how people who are already living with HIV continue to behave in certain situations that might put others at risk for HIV. So what I'd like to do for the next few minutes is maybe give each of our panelists an opportunity first to share what they're doing with respect to their constituency for HIV so that we can have a better idea. And maybe then, after each person has had their turn, then we can have an opportunity for questions, not just from me, but also from the rest of the audience. Okay? So I hope that's okay. Okay, so I will just pass the mic along, and maybe we can give each person about 5 minutes or a little longer, 5 to 8 minutes to talk about what they're doing in terms of HIV.
So I'm Rodulfo. I'm the president of Project Red Ribbon. Project Red Ribbon is a national foundation focusing on awareness, prevention, testing, treatment, care, and support. On the side of the treatment, care, and support, the foundation provides medical financial assistance, and we have a good program called DUYA. It's saving and cradling children with HIV. Right now, we have more than 135 kids with HIV under our program. We provide them with livelihood because our concern here is that we have to also cater to the families, because if they cannot bring them to the treatment hubs, then we cannot really force adherence or institute adherence to our children without the support of the parents. We also have a partnership with the National Youth Commission, wherein we have a program called the Happy Program, that is the HIV and AIDS prevention program for the youth. When we talk about the youth, we're talking about 15 to 34 years old. And we have awareness programs, sexual education. We also have SOGI programs for the youth nationwide. And we also are focusing on the SKs so that they can themselves educate barangays and youth organizations on HIV and AIDS. We also have programs for teenagers and adolescents who have HIV, and as well as adults. Later on, we want to plan for um, the senior individuals who have HIV. Now, on awareness, we have programs for school to educate um, educational institutions on HIV and AIDS, the HIV law, and SOGI. And we have a good program called Comprehensive HIV in the Workplace program, which we call SHARE, in which we make the HIV program sustainable in corporations. We craft HIV in the workplace policies. We craft and design information educational campaign materials, and also for prevention. And we have put in place the HIV screening in all clinic sites of companies so that they can themselves screen for HIV their employees. And we have also put in place some educational institutions, what we call the SHIP program, which is the Sustainable HIV in the Workplace in educational institutions. Example of this is in the LaSalle University, wherein the doctors and nurses are already conducting HIV screening. So we are putting in place sustainable programs to help the national government in reversing the epidemic.
Good noon once again. My name is Gerard. I'm one of the medical specialists in the Disease Prevention and Control Bureau. So I guess the question is too vague for the Department of Health to share, but the primary mandate of the Department of Health is really on standard setting, policy development, and so on and so forth. So we develop policies and plans and make sure that these plans are implemented by the local government units. So for the rest of my intervention, I would actually be referring to the activities that are being done by the local government units. So in terms of prevention of HIV among the targeted populations now, the pregnant women and the adolescents and the babies, what the local government units are doing is we develop for them information, education, communication materials. So most of you who have the chance of watching TV, we have this massive nationwide campaign of TV free. That is, we encourage everyone to get tested and get treated. So far, that has been effective in terms of bringing in people to undergo testing. Second is in terms of addressing the HIV among the school-based youth, we help the Department of Education develop a teacher's guide on how they impart the HIV prevention to their students. And these teaching guide, these modules, are already implemented in Quezon City and in major cities in Metro Manila and in Region 3 as well. However, the Department of Education would want to evaluate first its effectiveness before they would really want this thing to have a national rollout. And thirdly, which is I am very proud of, is we conduct, meaning the local government units conduct actually on a weekend special learning group sessions for the young affected populations. So we have these activities under the Global Fund grant, wherein 15 to 19 years old adolescents who are at risk to HIV, meaning they are sexually active, they are actually put in a pseudo school-based scenario where they play, where they learn from each other on how to protect themselves from HIV. And so far, our project under the Global Fund grant has reached 100,000 of the affected populations. So for adolescents, and there are also cities that are implementing teen centers. So if you go to Marikina City, if you are a young person, whether you come there for dental checkup, you will be diverted to the teen center later on for further assessment of your sexual health, so on and so forth. So the teen center is run by a dedicated nurse and a doctor to address their sexual health. So that is the teen centers that the local government units are doing. And they are, I think, all over the country already. And come November, the Department of Health will give, will incentivize the clinics, the teen centers that are really compliant with the standards of the department.
Magandang tanghali po sa inyo lahat. I am Danvic, one of the program managers of Love Yourself. Love Yourself is primarily a community-based organization that is mostly composed of 1,200 volunteers. Our volunteers are working on different, offering different interventions that is enclosed in the HIV care cascade, from HIV awareness, testing, prevention initiatives, treatment, care, and support. Right now, what we are doing is that we have, primarily for HIV awareness, we conduct most of our activities, online engagements. So we conduct campaigns and strategies in reaching to the key population, mostly online. Most of the clients of Love Yourself are MSMs, or men who have sex with men, and the youth, basically. Aside from awareness activities, we also offer free HIV testing at 6 of our community centers, 5 in Metro Manila and 1 in Cebu. Right now, we are catering clients as low as 40 to as high as 100 clients per day per facility. So we are, Love Yourself is mostly responsible to around 50% of the diagnosed cases in Metro Manila, which translates to around 50% of the entire Philippines. Also, with regards to prevention initiatives, we believe in differentiated care approach. What do I mean by that is we offer different interventions based on the needs of our clients. We don't call our clients patients because we believe that we empower our clients by employing a client-centered approach. So, for examples, in different care strategies would be providing interventions, prevention initiatives that would be mostly adaptable to their lifestyle. Like, for example, we created an app which we call Safe Spaces. It's an app where you could, it locates where you are, and the app will show the nearest location where you could get condoms and lubricants for free without judgment. So it's basically a free app where we partnered with establishments. So it's somehow a condom distribution program. We also started the demonstration project of offering PrEP, or pre-exposure prophylaxis, in the Philippines. That's only for awareness initiatives, prevention initiatives. With regards to testing initiatives, we are offering free HIV testing in our community centers, and we also partnered with 12 community-based organizations in the Philippines through the help of Global Fund and the Department of Health, with teaching these community-based organizations to how to provide the services that we offer in their respective localities in the Philippines. Also, in our community centers, some of them, we also consider them as one-stop shops, meaning HIV, everything is complete in one facility alone. Like for example, in our community center, nearest here in Anglo, in Mandaluyong, we have a treatment facility in the same building. And right now, Lovers of Anglo has around 3,800 clients on treatment. So we offer all of the services in the HIV care cascade, mostly in all of our community centers, and we reach out to the community by developing campaigns and strategies that we know would be palatable to them. Because we believe in Love Yourself. I always say this every time kapag lumalabas mo ko, we know the market because we are the market. We know the interventions that we will be giving to our market because we know what we want and we know kung ano po yung mas papatok sa atin. Ayun lamang po, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Nikita Cardinez-Tan. I'm a psychiatrist by profession. Addiction psychiatry is my subspecialty, so my catchment is in 70% of the certain. So I'm in private practice, so I work in a tertiary hospital. Usually, but obviously I'm representing psychiatry in terms of support. So we usually get clients from, in terms of addiction, we screen them, we meet them, and then we try to appropriate their needs in relation to medical and psychiatry. At the same time, addiction. There's a lot of not all facilities or treatment facilities are open for HIV, so that's something we have to work on. Although there are already some that are more educated and able to accept. The second catchment is are those from infectious consultants who refer to us in terms of care for, let's say, forms of depression, anxiety, and other mental issues which are very prevalent in the sector. And then third is in terms of prevention. So I belong to the group for addiction psychiatry of the Philippines. So we also advocate in relation to preventive measures because the times have really been different. So I've been practice for 20 years. If I was to compare how it was when I started to how it is now, there's really an uprise. So it used to be very easy, but now you see that. You see the things that you'll be able to optimize their well-being and at the same time be able to allow them to maximize what they can in terms of what they are. Because a lot of them also can continue to have lives and live long. Thank you.
Clinic manager of SHIP. I'm also SHIP. I'm also the case manager of all the patients or PLHIVs enrolled in SHIP. We also do several primary care training from SHIP provided to all social hygiene clinics or any other physicians who might be interested to have a training for primary care. We also conduct HTTP or HIV telehealth training in the Philippines, and it's a telemedicine. What we do is to broadcast through the internet training, primarily the basics of the primary care to all other social hygiene clinics from around the Philippines. We are actually on our second batch, and we are actually planning on the third batch of HTTP. What else? We have, or SHIP has a lot of research as well. But hindi ko na isa-isahin. Yun lang. Thank you.
So I find it so incredible that we have such a wealth of experience and a breadth of clientele, I would say, in terms of people who need HIV services. When we were talking about this program, Singer with Mario and I, parang one of the things that we really wanted to get a better grip on was why is it such why are we sitting in the midst of something so exclusive and we're so unique na tayo na lang yata yung may ganitong problema, or that's the sense I get, and it's really quite frustrating as a medical professional. And so we were saying, hindi kaya dahil by yung ating perceptions, behaviors, and values with respect to HIV in particular, no? So, in the course of your interactions with PLHIV, the clientele that you serve, can you give us parang siguro a snapshot of what you think needs to be, parang I'm trying to catch myself kasi parang napaka-judgmental pag iniisip ko yung sinasabi ko. No, sorry pero di ba? Oo pero I'm hearing myself and I feel like so judgmental, but it's really, I feel like, bakit ganon? Yung frustration, bakit ganon? And ano ba yung, how do we understand this phenomenon better so that we can take concrete steps to address the problem? I don't know, it's such a big question, but I hope you can get a sense of it.
So the pass is being passed to me. No? I think it's all about the culture. What we are trying, I think most of the organizations, and department of health, is trying to create, is to have a culture wherein we can have or we can acknowledge social inclusion and sexual diversity. And we want to establish a culture wherein there is a decrease in stigma and discrimination. That's what awareness is all about. That's why when we partnered, for instance, with St. Luke's PGC under the leadership of Doc Mario, we try to change the culture of the entire hospital. So we have to educate even the doctors of the hospital, the consultants, the residents, because we really need to change the culture. Even though we all have these awareness strategies, but if we don't know the purpose of these awareness strategies in changing, in driving change in the culture, then there will be still stigma in this culture. It has been discussed by a good doctor earlier. What are we going to do to address the issues of HIV/AIDS when there's stigma and discrimination? We need to influence, to write, to communicate with our clients. We need to understand what's going on. When we go to schools, sometimes we are shocked even because they're more knowledgeable than us when it comes to recreational drugs, when it comes to sexuality, gender identity. We need to listen to them so that eventually we can write policies and then deploy our own policies. Now there's an RA 11166. There is the Insurance Commission Circular 2019-30, which wherein HMOs cannot deny a person living with HIV with benefits. It's not enough for us to comply. It's good for us to drive and deploy the policies. Within ourselves, we have to change our culture within ourselves. I'll give you an example. We try to influence our HIV program in one company. What did they say? Ego, you cannot push for HIV testing here in our company because we are a conservative company. What we did, we put there the HIV testing. What happened? There was a long line of employees getting tested. You need to change the culture within organizations. And then later on, after 3 months, they have condom dispensers in their restrooms. Sometimes we think that we cannot change things, but it has to start from us driving. That's why in Project Red Ribbon, we want you guys to advocate for change, not only for awareness programs, because we all have the strategies. We have to drive cultural change within ourselves to admit that there's already an epidemic and what else we can do to drive cultural change.
If I may add to what Nico said, it's mas nagiging mahirap magkaroon ng interventions about HIV because HIV doesn't only need biomedical interventions, it also needs psychosocial interventions. And what we are doing in Lovers Help, we are trying our best to put all of the biomedical interventions that they need. But when a client comes into our facility, parang what they see is that the biomedical intervention is not actually their priority. Because what we believe, one reason why HIV is increasing in the Philippines, particularly with the youth, is basically a low sense of self-worth or pagpapahalaga sa sarili. What we believe in is that if we know how to love ourselves or we know how to take care of ourselves, that's the time we know how to provide the interventions that we need, kung ano yung kailangan natin na mas adaptable sa lifestyle natin, and basically to share it to other people, to your peers, to your friends, to your immediate network. But the challenge is, especially with facilities who are providing all of these biomedical interventions, it's easy to discuss HIV as a biomedical intervention. But to discuss about all the implications attached to it, like sex, some of us are really not comfortable about talking about sex because in the Philippines, sex is somehow considered taboo. Banggitin na nga lang yung word na sex, parang medyo iffy na for some. So basically, if there are no conversations that will revolve about it, then technically, how will we provide more conversations that is attached to it? HIV, for instance, it could be also teenage pregnancy, everything that is attached to sex. If we view it somehow conservatively, that's the time na we will not be able to provide the intervention that our client needs. Also, what we see also is that not only with regards to discussions about sex, but it's really more of providing a safe space for that someone to access the interventions that they need. We organizations know about this, and we you know, in all of our interventions that we're doing, we are non-judgmental. We provide all the care that they need because we understand them. But there are some people, you know, who is somehow medyo hesitant to provide that full intervention kasi mismo sila, they are not comfortable in giving it. So I think one step for medical practitioners mostly is really to provide that competence. It's not really an added learning, it's really more of showing compassion and humanity to that client by really providing an environment for them, for our patients, for our clients, to access the service they need. That they won't be judged, they won't be stigmatized. And that's the time that we will be able to provide the interventions that they need based on their lifestyle, based on sa pangangailangan nila. And so that's the time, if we cannot provide it, then we could link them to other institutions that we could provide them. Like for example, for us in Noversel, we could not provide everything. So that's why we also partner with other partners, other organizations that we believe could provide that services. And, you know, isa sa pinakamahalagang, you know, if we cannot really provide the service na kailangan nila, it's really to refer them to people na mas makakailangan ng services.
I agree with all that they said. The question na what is happening to the Philippines has been addressed to me and to my peers every time we go all around the country. I mean, yes, all around the country during our trainings. Sasabi, Sir Ed, bakit po ang taas ng prevalence or ng HIV rate ng Pilipinas? And it's been going on for years. And I really think that it's systemic. Lahat affected. It's not just the education. Napatunayan naman na yan sa ibang bansa. And sa atin, hindi pa siya masyadong nagagalaw. Like education early on sa Pilipinas, hindi na pag-uusapan ng sexual health. Hindi na pag-uusapan ng reproductive health. Yes, pasok sa curriculum yung sexual health, pero pasada lang siya. Walang pangil yung batas para idikdik na kailangan ito yung curriculum na kailangan matutunan ng mga bata. And then pagka naman nagtanong, pagka nandun na tayo sa treatment naman, hindi rin na pag-uusapan yung sexual health. Na pag-uusapan ng sex, yes, but not the sexual health. We are talking about reproductive health. I mean, we are talking about sex itself, but not the sexual health, not the reproductive health and rights. Madami. We can capacitate primary care workers or healthcare providers on what to do, medically speaking. Say, for example, ang dami kasi barriers. Alam natin na may mga problema. Kung iniisa-isa natin yung problema, say, for example, we know that there are LTFUs or lost to follow-ups. Why? Dahil natagalan, based sa study, natagalan sa pagkuha ng resulta ng confirmatory before treatment. Alam natin na may problemang ganon. But, masyado pa tayong hinahawakan ng system natin because some of the treatment hubs ay hindi pa rin nagpo-proceed with treatment. Even without confirmatory. Bakit hindi natin gawin? Proceed with treatment, come the time that the confirmatory returns with a negative result, stop treatment, and just accept that what happened was just a prep instead. Alam natin na there are treatment fatigues. Alam natin na yung iba may pill burden. We educate people that sometimes the two pill a day drugs and pwede naman gawin isa lang, except for Nevi. Pwede natin i-educate yung iba. But the thing is, masyado siyang intertwined. Masyado maraming problema na tayo sa grassroots, yung problema rin sa gobyerno, national, hindi parang ang nangyayari is band-aid. Well, that's for me. hindi masyado na-address lahat. Yun lang.
Yun lang.
I was gonna add, I guess in terms of, I don't know if I'm the eldest in the group, but I'm Dr. Mario's age. So let's qualify. So I come from that generation. So that generation, it's only in psychiatry that you have to learn how to say sex, otherwise you spell it out. So but because I'm a psychiatrist, we had to learn how to be comfortable with it. Right? But I don't know in the medical field, in other specialties, sometimes it's a very touchy thing. I come from a field that has its own stigma. So you have referrals, and it takes before they end up, let's say, with anxiety, they go through all the gastroenterologists you can think of, and it's the nth gastro that will be able to tell them, because they're not also comfortable to tell them you should see a psychiatrist. So same with HIV. There's already rules. There's already a bias to how it is. So you have to, in relation to culturally, I guess that's something we really have to work on. It's not something that we can do overnight, but maybe in the medical profession, in terms of being more aware. So, example, I admit patients for drugs. Routine yung STD sa akin. So I require it. But the manner to be able to order a VCP, I need different name, you need to get the consent, which is not the same thing you go through for the other kind. So some people don't feel comfortable with it because they have to sign all these things, right? At the same time, they may want to, but they're afraid. So when you get results, it goes directly to me, it doesn't get released to anybody else. And we have to disclose that. So even that is something within the medical field that we have to learn to try to adapt. Confidentiality is something, in as much as you'd like to be able to advocate. There's a number of people I see continue to work. It's not like they can't work, but not all are very open to it. So maybe I get to meet people who have the resources and the support that they can get medication, they can get therapy, they have family capacities to continue. So I guess my point is, in terms of destigmatizing, culturally, it's really very different because before, everything is so fast now. I came from Word Star, abutan niyo ba yan? The monitor, the black monitor with the green, and it was such a horrible experience for me because the eyes. But now everything is so fast. So same with transmission, dissemination. That's also part of why it's different. Another big thing we have in psychiatry besides is suicide in the adolescents, right? In the younger generation. It's just everywhere. And I think whether we like it or not, technology has some bearing to that. And it's something that we need to learn to use also to our advantage so that we can learn to prevent and get people more educated. Because it's so fast. So if you get caught with something, all you have to do is get posted and then it goes viral. Before, if you're caught, you get big chismis. Diba? Before you get to the end person, there's no evidence pa kasi dial tone. Diba? So it takes forever before before it's really bad. But now, it doesn't take much. So I guess I was just saying that as doctors, we can try to be more, we can make it more routine. It doesn't even have to be, this is how I survived asking about sexual history. My mentor was Dr. Lapis, and you have to be very diplomatic. She has no scruples when it comes to that. I make it routine. So it's like I'm asking, so it's part of it. And they don't also feel like it's a touchy situation, right? So it's also, and they also read that. So part of that is learning to be not judgmental. I know one of the doctors was asked earlier how do you approach a teenager, right? So the difficulty with the teenagers is it's really privacy because they're not too young, but they're not old enough to make decisions. So you really need to give them time. You need to talk to them separately from their parents. You have to make them feel you're not going to judge them. So even me, like I have to pretend, like I have to understand because sometimes I don't understand what they're talking about. The words, di ba? Sometimes, so I have younger kids I see, and I tell them, can you explain to me what this is? I can't naman pretend to be like them kasi I'm old. Diba? But yeah, so my catchment is, yeah, starting from, I guess, in terms of the medical field, getting more comfortable with it, routine, right? And from there, get more support.
Lastly, I have three keywords for the factors of these increasing epidemics. First is on infrastructure, second is the supplies, and third is on the efficacy. Let me talk about the infrastructure first. You know, the HIV epidemic here in our country is not as gloomy as we see. There is still one good thing that we have made in the past, and that is being able to control the epidemics among the female sex workers. So throughout Asia, I guess Philippines has the lowest incidence of HIV among female sex workers. The reason for this is the government has established as early as 1950s the social hygiene clinics. Most of you had your community exposure in way back medical school or in your residency training. So the social hygiene clinics are really designed for female sex workers so that by until now, until 2017 surveillance in the DOH, the prevalence of HIV among female sex workers is only 0.0 something percent. So that's one good thing that we have made so far in terms of controlling HIV epidemic. The problem is these infrastructures are well designed for the female sex workers. They are never designed for other key populations. So that when 2007 came, where we saw the increasing trends of HIV among MSM, it was too late for us to really restructure, reform our social hygiene clinics. But with that situation, what we did was really partner with community-based organizations, the MSM groups themselves, so that as what Danvic has mentioned, they know the market, so they are the best people to design the services for the MSMs. So that's the trouble with our infrastructure nowadays. You know, these social hygiene clinics are fully trained to provide services for women, but not for men. Second is on the supplies. The reason why the MSMs do not use condoms is primarily because of the total absence of access to condoms. So we shortfall in terms of our supply. Again, the reason here is it's not really the government lacking the supply themselves, but it's the attitude of the health workers. Many years ago, when I visited facilities, there's a lot of condoms in the health center, and when I asked them why are they not distributed, because these are for family planning purposes. And if a seemingly gay person would ask for a condom, they will deny the person. You're not using this for family planning, right? So you don't have the right to ask for this condom. So oh, even if a teenager, and if you're a teenager, you go to a health center, you'll be surprised that the good one is your tita. So, so it's really very difficult to change paradigm. But now we have arranged with our family health office that condoms should have dual purpose, not only on family planning, but also for STI and HIV prevention. And lastly is on the efficacy. My point here on efficacy is not really looking at the culture because it's really very difficult. And it's a Herculean task to change the culture of our society. Maybe we can start with our own brands. This opinion of mine is not based on a big study. It's just a feedback from my friends, from my colleagues. Seemingly, there's this feeling of mine that doctors are so scared to discuss HIV to their patients. They're so scared to offer HIV testing because of that confidentiality issue of the Republic Act. No, but maybe what we need to do is really just to desensitize ourselves further, study on the law, and we'll be surprised that the confidentiality of the confidentiality that has been mentioned in the Republic Act is actually just one of the things that we do when we do the patient-doctor relationship. It's the same principle that we're doing. Don't be afraid to discuss HIV testing among your patients, among your clients. Second is And I would like to thank Dr. Yato for her presentation, for opening up now the discussions on transgender issues. You had a very great slide on transgender. Doctors are not yet well diverse, and I feel that on gender diversity. So when a transgender would come into the clinic and would start to complain lower abdominal pain, I don't think it's really addressed fully because there's a wall between the doctor and the client, and the doctor would impose the values to the client, and the client would be so afraid to disclose to the doctor that she is a transgender. And so when the client is not able to disclose this situation, what do we expect? The client will never go back to the facility and go on with the infection that she has. So again, that's infrastructure, that's supplies and ethics.
Okay, just to add one more thing, from what I'm seeing right now, there's a light at the end of the tunnel because of the new HIV and AIDS policy act, which discusses 7 key points that I want to discuss. Number one, education as the right to health is being strengthened because everything that we are encountering right now, the lack of education awareness, the law will strengthen this right to prevention of HIV/AIDS. Number two, it stresses the importance of encouragement regarding HIV/AIDS, which is very important to all of us. So everybody needs to be informed about the importance of HIV testing and encouraging people to get tested. Number three, because this is a continuing issue when it comes to parents who have children with HIV, the law now strengthens encouragement of or empowerment of economic policies and programs, wherein government agencies can have their own programs to have or to support people with HIV, which is very important. This addresses this issue economically. No matter what, a parent cannot bring a child to a treatment facility if there's no food on the table. The first priority is food on the table, survival first. So because there's economic empowerment in the law, this will strengthen or encourage more programs, specifically for the SWB and other government agencies for economic support. Number four, the use or encouragement of HMOs or health maintenance organizations and life insurance or insurers to not deny people living with HIV. I know a lot of doctors cannot even put HIV in their diagnosis because they won't be covered by HMO. Now nobody will be denied of that. Now you can even put their HIV as a diagnosis or suspected HIV. You can put there as your impression for HIV test. You don't have to be smart. Next, fifth, promotion of policies when it comes to anti-discrimination and bullying, anti-stigma. This is very important. The reason why we are having problems right now is because people are still scared of stigma. People are still scared that they will be bullied because they are assumed, even assumption of HIV. Because they took an HIV test, assumed to have AIDS-related infections, even assumed to have HIV. So imagine that. Because the law stresses that importance, then this is a good way, a good path to open for anti-discrimination and anti-stigma policies, which later on we can roll out. And the last part of this is penalties, increased penalties for violations. So nobody can deny a person living with HIV for health care. Nobody can have breach of confidentiality, and because the fines are so great. Now, I just want to link that with the OSHO. So for companies, if you are working for companies, If they don't have HIV in the workplace policy right now, and if DOLE inspects on this day, you will be fined 100,000, and like before it's 10,000 only, and that is per day. Now you can institute that change. If your hospital doesn't have HIV in the workplace policy, and DOLE inspects that, then under the OSH law, you'll be fined 100,000 a day. Then you can institutionalize a good HIV program. Like what I said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And because of the new RA 11166, and it has been signed by Secretary Duque 3 weeks ago, right? So this will push for reforms, and this will address all the gaps.
So, mabuti na lang ganun yung medyo, oo, may liwanag pala. Parang I was actually parang feeling like, ano ba talagang kailangan natin gawin or pwede pa natin gawin. No, I know you're already starting to feel hungry, but I just like to give the audience maybe a chance to ask a question or two. Yes? Faye?
Hello, good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. I'm Faye Perez. And I am an advocate of patient empowerment. I'm a cancer patient and a survivor. And it's not very different from having HIV because it's both chronic diseases, right? In my own perspective, I take charge of my life. What is your opinion on HIV self-testing? Because there is a shift in the mindset, and globally, a lot of multiple countries has already applied this in their system. What are your standards?
Okay, I think Danvic will have a good point of view about this. Pinangunahan ko lang siya. Because it is Love Yourself who will pilot self-care. It's the local version of self-testing. But since I was the program manager of community-based HIV screening, just want to inform everyone that community-based HIV screening is one of the programs na inad lang natin sa current HIV program ng gobyerno. Now, since dinagdag natin siya, those hard-to-reach key affected populations, because of that, because of this project, because of this program, the CBS, we were able to reach that population. However, there are still people who doesn't want to get tested because they want to test themselves on their own. And that is where I think this self-testing will come in. But of course, there should be guidelines, just like abroad. Abroad, I'm not sure of the local guideline here for self-prep. Abroad, kailangan meron muna pre-test and post-test counseling yung pasyente before client. Before the client will be given 4 test kits to be used for the entire year. And then there will be reporting afterwards. Because there's also studies from abroad na may mga nag-pay kahit paano, but because of this additional effort, mas tumataas yung reach. So I'm for self-testing, and also idadagdag ko lang doon sa sinabi ni Faye kanina na HIV and cancer is practically parang related. Actually, yes, related sila sa chronic part.
As a chronic disease.
Doon sa chronic disease. But stigma is in there. Because once na ang tao bigyan mo ng cancer, people will sympathize with them. Unlike with people na may HIV, pagdidirihan siya. Simply because HIV is also acquired through sex. But if cancer can be acquired through sex, I'm sure may stigma din si cancer.
Cervical.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But again, it's still cancer in general.
Yeah, because Love Yourself will be offering the demonstration project for self-testing. We don't call it self-testing, actually, we call it self-screening. Because according to protocol, to guidelines, this is just screening. It's just like you're having your pregnancy test at home, but you need to confirm it in the clinic. So I agree with patient empowerment. We need to empower ourselves because health is our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of. So we need to empower clients to let them have their management of their overall sexual health and wellness, regardless of their lifestyle, regardless of what they do. And if self-testing or a self-screening would be an option for them to access that management of sexual health and wellness, then why not? Let's provide that option. But I agree, they should be guided because yun na nga po HIV is not easily managed. That's why we are very much careful before we roll this out. Because I agree, there is counseling that still needs to be done, especially if this is unassisted self-testing, meaning walang assistance at all from someone. Because the assisted self-testing is CPS, diba? But unassisted, they will rely on information, they will rely on materials that they will be accessing from the kit itself, but not only from that, but from other avenues as well. Like for example, online campaigns, online materials, a website that could guide them. If you're non-reactive, ano yung dapat mong gawin? If you're reactive, what are the steps that needs to be done for you to be linked to testing? Because again, screening is not equivalent to testing because you need to confirm it at the clinic para masiguro if you really have HIV. But we imagine that process of accessing that information. We will make it very accessible so that the client will empower himself or herself with regards to all the information na kailangan niya. And we hope that this intervention, it may be not for everyone, because people will still want to go to a testing facility for them to be tested, and that's very nice. That's very, very nice. But we need to offer all the interventions to all of our clients because we believe in differentiated care approach. Whatever whatever works for the client, yun yung mas magagawa nila because that will be adaptable to their lifestyle. That's why we will be offering this option, but we are very much careful with this option because we wanted more information na kailangan nila before going to the next steps. With those materials that we will be creating alongside the access of the test kit, we will be ensuring to the client that we are there, even virtually, every step of the way.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kay, for encouraging us and giving us this
Hot topic. Hot topic.
hot topic, and for sharing to us that you're a cancer survivor. I'm a person living with HIV since 2011, and I, together with you, have a chronic illness, and I am basically a functional cure. I'm sinasabi ko nga, I can run faster than you guys. Maybe I'm as healthy as you are. And one word, empowerment. One word, empowerment. When we talk about self-testing, we need to empower. Any innovation, any other options to stop the epidemic is welcome by the country. With an increase in the rate of cases, we have to do something. We cannot push away innovations. What we can do is to strengthen empowerment. Empowering every individual to know his or her right. Like what I said in the new law, education is the right to health and information. We are talking about healthcare, like Faye and I. So both of us, we are talking about and dealing with our health. And it is our right to be given that privilege and that right information and that innovation. And sana nobody can deprive us of that. If I'm not a person living with HIV, I will take that and grab that opportunity. But then empowerment comes with power. So definitely with like what Danvic has mentioned, there will be guidelines. Like what they have been doing abroad, it's important that every individual will be empowered with the right education so that they know how to deal just in case they turn out to be reactive to the service.
So,
I think with this session we've been given a bird's eye view of some of the aspects of the HIV landscape that we have right now in the country. Certainly, there's not enough time to go into a very in-depth discussion, and I'm really sorry that we don't have enough time for this. But I hope that when we break up into small groups later and we get a chance to interact more, that we can tap into the experiences of our resource teachers here to help us surface the more important issues that we want to discuss in our small groups and come up with some recommendations or some action points, which is the whole goal naman of this summit, to bring people together who are interested in HIV, who want to address it, and want to make a difference. Okay, so with that, I'd like to close this session and I'd like to thank our panelists for coming and for sharing their stories.
Then, to everyone, you can have your lunch now. You can have your lunch now. Lunch is served outside.
Just come back after lunch. We'll touch, of course, the groupings for the small group. We'll have short group discussion on HIV in pregnancy, HIV in infants, children, adolescents, and HIV in other diseases. And we can come out with resolutions and statements that we could present, of course, to the administration of the Congress plus the UN. Okay, enjoy your lunch. We'll be back hopefully by 2 p.m. Thank you.
Shorter na lang.
Alam mo, may tinitignan kita kanina kung sinong kamukha mo. Naisip ko naman si Lady ka. Gusto ko yun. Diba? Diba?
Parang kayo lang yung nagsabi nun.
Talaga?